Hey guys, welcome to Storytime with Frank. Got some more stories for you, of course. I got if I'd written them all down, I'd have a book the size of a phone book full of crazy stories. So today I want to talk about back when I was a kid. I would have been 16 or 17. My dad used to be a courier, and so he would get calls to go grab something and take it to the airport, or go pick up something from the airport and drop it off. My uncle actually owned the company, so my dad worked for him in between, my dad's in printing business, so in between, finding jobs, there being jobs out there in that industry, he was a courier. And so we would go to the Dallas Mavericks games, I guess right about the time the games were over with, and we would go, it's back when an old Reunion Arena, it was not even that old then, it was still fairly new, not new, but it was probably, I think it was built in 80, so this was probably, might have been just a few years old. It probably wasn't even 10 years old yet. Anyway, so we'd go back in this back area where we had clearance, and we would go sit down in the lot where the players would actually come out and go into the parking garage and get in their cars and leave. And so we went down there a lot. Like every game we would go get, and we'd take it to the airport, and it got flown, I guess, to either NBA offices or whoever was filming the game. It was ESPN or NBC or somebody like that. So we'd go pick up the game tapes. So a lot of times we'd have to wait, and my dad would have to go in there, and it had to be an adult that went and got them. So a lot of times it would be my dad going in. So we got to see the whole back area, something I never got to see, and of course the stadium's gone now, or the arena's gone now. So I got to the point after 3 or 4 times of going down there, this one time this guy says, "Hey, will you do me a huge favor?" And I say, "Yeah, I guess." And he goes, "Will you sit in my car?" He said, "I got it already started and warming up." And he said, "I need to go grab something inside." And he said, "I don't want anybody messing with my car." And I'm like, "Sure." And I knew who it was, and so I agreed to it. And then he came back out and gave me an autograph and was like, "Thanks, I appreciate it." And that was Roy Tarpley, who used to play for the Mavericks. And so anytime we would go down there to go get game tapes, and at the time I think he was injured, that's why he would get out of there pretty quick and get in his car. And if he saw me, he would make a point of saying hi and asking how things were going. And then he'd be like, "Hey, will you watch my car real quick?" And I'm like, "Sure." Then it got to the point where, I'd see him and he'd be walking up and he'd be like, "Hey, start my car for me, I'll be right back." And I never knew what he was going back in to get. He never really said. But it was still pretty cool. And then one time, we were going to a sound studio to go get some tapes. And this was back when Quantum Leap was on television. And some of you might be too young to remember that show. But it starred Scott Bakula. And he was in town filming a movie called Unnecessary Roughness. And I really wanted to be in that movie somewhere in a crowd scene. And we actually had plans to go. And it ended up falling through. And which is kind of the way my Hollywood career's been. Everything I've been in, it's either cut. Everything I've ever gone to and been in a crowd scene or whatever, you can't see me, or that whole scene gets cut out. Happened to me at Walker, Texas Ranger a couple of times. So anyway, the guy said, "Well, come here you can come here and get the tape. Scott Bakula's done with the voiceovers." And he said, "I know your son's a fan, so if you get over here in time, you can meet him." We ended up passing him in the parking lot because he had to go back to film. And I was so upset because I'm like, oh, I wanted to meet him so bad. And to this day, I still haven't met him. But I met a lot of interesting people. And then my dad would go on his own sometimes when he couldn't take me. And I think that's who I inherited my, I guess I didn't inherit my vertigo from him. That's a medical condition. But basically my fear of heights, I really don't think I have a fear of heights. It's normally the vertigo that kicks in that causes the problem. And but I work myself up a lot too when I get up into a high place that I'm going to have vertigo. But anyway, he said that one day he had to take and drop off a package in the tallest building in Dallas, and the security guard said, since it's the penthouse, I got to shoot you straight up. There's no stops. And he told me that that was probably one of the scariest things he's ever done in riding an elevator. It was horrible. He said it went just shot straight up in a few seconds and then came straight back down when he was done. But I really enjoyed doing it. The other thing that was really cool is one time there were a lot of movies going on in Dallas at the time. And so one of the other big ones was JFK. I think it was JFK. Yeah, it had to have been JFK. It wasn't Born on the 4th of July, it was JFK. And we had seen, I guess, one of the, I don't know really what his job was. I wanted to say he was one of the assistant directors. And we would see him at the airport all the time with cans that had the film in it. So he didn't seem that friendly. Like he really did not seem that friendly. And to this day, I cannot remember his name. And he didn't seem that friendly, but he was friendly to me for some reason. He was even friendly to my dad. And so one time I was talking to him about the movie and about everything going on, and he's like, he got, I guess, was making a phone call. He's like, hold on, I need to make a phone call. So he's making a phone call. And I'm sitting there and we're waiting for our number to be called to go get our stuff. And then he was waiting for his number to be called to ship something. So they call his name and he's like, oh crap. And he goes, will you hold the phone, and when the person gets on the other end, just tell them I'll be right back, that I'm shipping the film. And I was like, okay. You know, I knew the guy, so we were friendly, so it was no big deal. And I was a kid. So I'm holding on to the phone, and this guy gets on. He was like, hey. And I go, and I cannot, like I said, I can't remember the guy's name. I said, he's having to ship, they called his name, so he's taking the canisters up, 2 canisters up to ship them off to California. He goes, oh, well, good. And he goes, well, who's this? And I told him, and I said, you know, my dad's courier. And so we met him and we talked to him. You know, we see him at the airport all the time, taking the canisters. And he was like, yeah, he goes, he really works hard for me. And he goes, we filmed a lot in Dallas, and he said that's why you're seeing him so much. And I was like, is this Mr. Stone? And he goes, yeah, it is. And so basically I had like a 5-minute conversation with Oliver Stone on the phone, and it was kind of crazy. Now that I think about it, it's kind of crazy. So anyway, that's the kind of things that would happen. And the reason that all reminded me is because I've met so many people, and I'm so respectful of people's privacy. And if I see somebody out and they're at a restaurant and they've just ordered or they're about to eat, I'm not going to mess with them. A lot of other people run up there and want your autograph. I'm not an autograph hound. The thrill of just seeing them in public is enough for me, and I don't need pictures or anything. The reason that all triggered is the other day we went to Burger King in Austin, in central Austin, and I saw Mac Brown, the head coach of the Texas Longhorns, and his wife eating at Burger King, which is kind of funny. So beyond being able to go up and say hi or saying, hey coach, or talking to him, getting a picture and autograph and all that, just the fact that I'm eating at the same Burger King as Mac Brown is cool enough for me, and I don't need everything else. So, and that's why I think I'm a good storyteller, is because I don't have to have all this other stuff. I've got these great stories of these things that have happened and these people I've met, and I don't need the documented proof for it because I know the story's real. So anyway, that's the courier story. So if you guys like the story, give me the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. I got tons more coming. I am trying to find a group, an improv group or something, to start acting some of these out. I still think that would be really fun. So we'll see how that goes. So it just depends on what I can get done and what I can. So anyway, keep watching the channel. I got more stories coming. And follow me on Twitter. I got other channels. Make sure you hit up my other channels and check them out. And I should have another story for you soon.